my financial portfolio and my investments, it's really kind of creepy. But if you found out who I was and Googled me or looked at Facebook and found out I was a reasonable guy with a 9-year-old son, it's like, okay, maybe you wouldn't be afraid of having dinner. This is what we're going to talk about here. More about kind of what you learned from your friends, about what we like to do in the Sitefinity group. So what gets us out of bed in the morning, gets us excited? It's about digital transformation of businesses. We're a technology company. We sell products. But it's what folks like you do with them that is exciting to us. It's all about transforming your business from something that is more brick and mortar to something that is more and more and more and more online. So if we can help you do that, we're really, really happy. And that's really important because things are changing out there. 35 billion smart devices that are going to be out there by 2020? That's amazing. Think about that. I mean, right now, if you've got an Amazon Echo, it can turn off your lights in your living room if you've got smart devices. That's going to be more and more and more of that, not only B2C, but B2B. So we all have to get more digital for that reason. Love this one. 55% of our time is spent in front of screens. Except if you're my 9-year-old son, then it's about 95%, I think. I can tell the people who have kids every single time. Think about that. More and more time dominated by screens. And by 2017, most, at least half or more, of our e-commerce is going to be done through mobile. How many people ever forgot their phone when they drove somewhere and realized they had left it charging at home and felt absolutely vulnerable? What if I break down? What if someone needs me? What if my boss drops me an email? Oh my God, it's the worst feeling I ever had. And my son's sitting in the back and he's like, you better go back and get it, Dad. It's like, no, I think we can go to karate practice without having a major issue. I will get over this. But this is really an era of disruption. So what we see is an evolution. Now, everyone here is old enough to remember late 90s, early 2000s? Web presence, getting online, that was important. Then e-commerce, if we had stuff to sell, if we were B2C especially, that was important. And that was kind of like, got to do that. Now we're kind of in the center area, because we're nowhere near transformation, by the way. So if anyone in the room feels nervous because we're not transformed, don't worry, very few people are. Amazon and Netflix, that's about it. They're the people who really do it well. Everyone else is kind of, getting there. And if you're the exception, I apologize, probably Aaron in the back's the exception. Aaron, you're just going to be like the whipping boy for the entire day. So he's like, I'm good with that. So most of us are in that kind of digital marketing world, aren't we? We're trying to get the word out. We're trying to understand how our interactions are being done with our partners and our clients. And we're trying to get control of that. And that's a big issue. And I tell you, even us, we get a lot of good tools, by the way. You'll see them during the day. And we also have access to other great tools because we're not the only provider of great technology out there. But we're still learning. We're still getting our arms around it. And we talk about it all the time. It's the cobbler's kids. We're figuring out. But we're doing a pretty good job of it at this point, and we're going to get better at it, and all of us need to get better at it too. Because when it gets to digital transformation, I'll tell you a story. I was at an event with Mike Fuller, who you met, and we were at it was the DMA event in Boston a couple weeks ago. And we're sitting down for a delicious box lunch at this event, and I'm sure we've all had that delicious box lunch. And I'm sitting across from these two people, and they work in an insurance company. So they're basically, not an insurance company, but a company that helps senior citizens figure out insurance. People 65 and older figuring out their insurance. And they said, our customers are pushing us to be more digital. Senior citizens are pushing them to be more digital. Let's do the math. If you're 65 today, that means that you've been dealing with computers since, what, mid-'80s? Late 80s, PCs? Probably. Maybe. Don't waggle your head at my example. No. Let's say, maybe late 80s? Give me late 80s? Okay. So since the late 80s, you've been dealing with computers. So pretty much close to 20 years, right? You've been dealing with the internet since what, mid-'90s? Probably. AOL probably was your first taste of the internet. Then you've had a smartphone since what? Early to mid-2000s? Probably as long as any millennial out there. Senior citizens are saying, old school's not good enough for me. I need you to go digital. So we're all worried about millennials and Generation Next. Seniors are going to push us to do this. It's kind of a slap in the face. So if you think your business, oh, we're B2B, we don't deal a lot with millennials, no, I'm sorry, guys. I'm calling BS on you. It's just not the way it works. So it's about customer experience, and we're not the only ones saying it. I mean, you look at all these different folks, they're saying things like content management. It's customer experience now. And when you can get Gartner and Forrester to agree with each other, that's pretty big. They're agreeing on the same things. It's all about that. So I guess, guys, we all agree this is important, right? Beautiful. So let me tell you some stories, not about our company. Let's tell you about stories of what some people do with what we do and the challenges that they face, because we learn more about the challenges and how they're overcome than we learn about from a data sheet. So the lovely people at Gatorade, B2C, right? Everyone there are B2C? They sell drinks mostly to athletes and kids, right? Very brightly colored, purplish, colors that never invented in nature. That's what they do. Okay, it's 2012. So they have a website, and they've released a new product. Everyone remember, I think it's the G2 line. It's before, during, and after your workout. So basically prep, hydrate, replenish. That's the whole thing. And they're trying to pitch this to high school athletes is their target. Their persona is the high school athlete. And they realize that this is nutrition. They have to teach, not sell. And they had a website in 2012 that was all Flash-based. Okay, so how do we think a high school athlete is going to access content? Visual aid? Yeah. They realized they had a challenge. So what they did is they totally rebuilt and restructured their website to change their mission. They transformed their mission from really a B2C flavor to a B2B flavor, right? Because B2B, we're mostly about education. Because we're not going to sell you something. It's not like, hey, yeah, let me buy that $40,000 thing. It's more about driving you along the path. So they redid their website. They actually did this really cool thing where they started putting up information on there about, they did this thing called Freaks with DC Comics about J.J. Watt and Cam Newton, and they made them into superheroes. Anyone familiar with Cam? It wasn't Andrew Luck, I apologize, but it was Cam Newton, J.J. Watt, and they started teaching people about what these products did for your body. Because let's face it, a high school athlete, what they learn about nutrition usually comes from the back of a package from a drive-thru. So they transformed their mission. Then it was BNP Paribas. Now, large organization in Europe, not as large here, obviously. And they're a lot of banking. So what they said is like, there are a lot of millennials. They were targeting on mobile millennials, people that wanted to do banking from their phone. Now, you might say, well, what's the big deal? Everyone does banking from their phone. My credit union does it. All the different banks in the area, they do it. But they said, we're not even going to do branches. We're going to create a brand that is just mobile, just Europe, just targeted towards millennials in Europe doing banking on their phone. And they created an entire brand called Hello Bank with no branches. They had a whole different business model, eliminated all the overhead. Think of it as kind of like, they're kind of the Amazon or the Netflix of banking. And they changed that whole mission. To me, that's really interesting. Next one, AirAsia. So AirAsia's goal is to be the dominant low-cost provider of airfare in Asia-Pac. So if you go to their site, you will find trips from Bangalore to Kuala Lumpur for $35 for a flight. Now, to do that, they needed to obviously do the mobile thing, had to do that. But they needed to start personalizing all these offers to all of these different segments that they have. It's not in personas, it's geo segments, right? If I'm not in Bangalore, I don't care about the flight to Kuala Lumpur if I'm not in Bangalore. So they actually had to change the way they did business so that they could target people phenomenally well. Every quarter, they do 6,000 separate promotions. So anyone here work with web technology? Oh, come on, really, come on, kids. All right, so think about that. If you're going to do 6,000 promotions on your website every quarter, is that going to bring your website to your knees? If you're not careful, it will, right? Is it going to take a lot of work on the back end to make sure you do that? Yeah. They had to change their entire way of doing business from the ground up, from the way any other airline did it. to make sure they had the people, the process, the technology, and the scalability. When you get the scalability, Nestle, everyone knows Nestle. What you probably don't know is how many brands they have. I was shocked when I saw it. The number of brands that Nestle has underneath, I think L'Oreal is actually, they're partially owned by Nestle, which makes perfect sense to have like health and beauty underneath. People make chocolate. Perfect sense for me. So, but when you look at them, they needed to transform in a different way. So when I say scale and agility, do those words usually go together? Think of the largest organizations. I don't know, US government, for instance. Phenomenally agile? Pretty big, not phenomenally agile. I used to work for ADP, big payroll HR company. I worked for them for a number of years. Very good company. I bet everyone here has gotten a check from ADP over the course of their career. I bet you have. Good company, yeah. They make money on usually momentum and inertia because they're so big. They do good stuff, but it takes them a while to turn the Queen Mary, right? So Nestle actually had to support not only all their brand websites, but think of all the other websites that they want to put up if they want to make that connection with you. So if you're using their chocolate and you want to learn about their nutrition of that product, you have a nutrition website. If you want to learn about recipes that use it, you have that type of website. So they actually needed to build an infrastructure enabling them to bring websites up and down at need very, very quickly. So they needed to do agility at scale. So, all right, so this is where we get to, I show all my investments, all right? So I already told you about my dating background. Now I'm going to show you some numbers and stats and stuff, that idea. But I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our products because, face it, folks, that's what pays the bills for us. So we have the Sitefinity platform. It does a lot of neat things, but we hang our hat on basically 3 different areas. So content management and mobility. We were one of the first content management players to do that, I think, pretty darn well. You know, other people do it. I'm not saying they don't, but we think we do it well. Also, digital marketing. We're going to talk about the Digital Experience Cloud, which is another part of the Sitefinity platform. And this is kind of exciting as a marketer, myself as a career marketer. The ability to do some of the things that it can do is really exciting to me because suddenly I can get visibility and understanding of what's happening when it comes to our website, our customer base, and our programs. And it's a pretty neat thing. And the last thing is extensibility and integration. We come from a company called Telerik, or Telerik, depending upon how you want to pronounce it. Even our founders will pronounce it different ways. Apparently in Bulgarian, by the way, it's pronounced somewhere in between that. That's why you hear different versions. Interesting treat. So, but anyone here ever worked with the Kendo UI or any of those type of tools? Yeah, a lot of the tech people. So good tools, right? Do their job well. We, of course, have that legacy. So when we built our Sitefinity platform, we used the Telerik tools. So if you want to extend the Sitefinity platform, take a wild guess. You can use the Telerik tools. So when it comes to being, we think as developer friendly, we think we tend to be pretty good at that. And the last thing I do want to mention is that we are part of the Progress software family. If people aren't familiar with Progress software, it is a software company out of Bedford, Massachusetts, very near and dear to, I'm a born and bred New Englander. My apologies to all you Colts fans, sorry. So we are part of that family. So when it comes to what we offer as being part of that family, obviously we've got our CMS and digital analytics, the things we're going to talk to you about today. We've got the web, mobile, and desktop development that comes from Telerik. But we also have a whole bunch of great new things that we have as part of the Progress family. So they have development platforms. They also have great data connectivity tools. And they also have things like rules engines. So if you want to build something like the healthcare, if you ever go to trying to find the right healthcare at a government site for the Affordable Care Act, they use tools. In fact, I think 25 states actually use the tools that Progress provides to figure out what you should get for healthcare when you go on those sites. That's pretty exciting. So let's see. I am just a shade over. So that's your quick intro.